need us?
12 Marsh Road.
Sorry, 12 Marsh Road?
12 Marsh Road.
And what is the closest major intersection?
It's Birchmount and St. Clair or Birchmount and Danforth Road.
Okay, and is this a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Okay, so tell me exactly what's happened.
I just came home, and I was out running, and my wife was taking a bath, and when I came home, she's in the bath, but she's under the water, and she's not breathing.
Okay, sir, did you remove the water from the bathtub?
No, I haven't.
Okay, take the moment to do that now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, how old is she, sir?
She's 29.
She's 29? Okay, is she breathing at all?
No, I don't think so.
Are you able to get her out of the bathtub?
I probably can. Do you want me to do that now?
Yes, I want you to do that now. Get her out, put her on the floor, flat on her back, okay?
I know how to do CPR.
Okay, well, I'm going to guide you through that. Do that right now. Get her out, put her flat on her back. Let me know when it's done.
All right. Karissa. Oh, God. She's 5 months pregnant. Oh, I can't do it. She's too heavy. She's too slippery.
You can't get her out of the bathtub?
Oh.
Hey, sir?
Yeah.
Can you try wrapping a towel around her arm? Might give you a little bit better grip to get her out.
Okay.
Hey, I know she's slippery.
Karissa, come.
Try grabbing her right under her arms, under her armpits, and pull her out that way if that's possible. Can you get her out?
Almost.
Okay, all right. When you do, lay her on her left side and wedge a pillow or something behind her back. Roll up the towel and put it behind her back and lay her on her left side, okay?
I can't get her out. It's too much.
You can't get her out of the tub? Okay, we have plenty of help coming, okay? What's your name?
What's my name?
Yes, what's your name?
Philip.
Philip?
Yeah.
Okay, Philip, we have plenty of help coming. We have police, fire, and ambulance driving there as fast as we can, okay?
I can't get her out. No.
Okay, Philip, we're coming, okay? Philip, do you think that you can try and do CPR on her can you lay her flat on her back? Well, in the tub?
Yeah, she's on her back now.
Okay, is there any way you can try and get her more onto her left side since she is pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. Use the tub to try and prop her up on her left side, okay?
Yeah. Okay. Come here. Okay, she's on her left side.
Okay, now, can you see anything in her mouth?
No.
Okay, I want you to try and tilt her head back. Open up her airway.
Okay.
Okay, and we're going to start to do compressions, okay?
Come on, woman. Okay, compressions.
Okay, so I want you to place the heel of your hand on the breastbone, right in the center of her chest.
Yeah, 30, right?
Right between the nipples. Place your other hand on top of that hand.
Yeah.
I want you to press down firmly 2 inches with the heel of your lower hand touching her chest.
Okay.
Listen carefully. You need to pump the chest fast and hard at least twice per second, okay?
Okay.
We're going to do this 600 times or until help can take over. Let the chest come all the way up between pumps and count out loud so I can count with you, okay? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
2, 3, 4. Keep going.
3.
We have plenty of help coming.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Keep going, Philip. Keep going. You're doing excellent. I'm right here with you.
4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Keep going.
1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, breathe. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The 911 call you just heard is from a man named Philip Grandine. Seemingly in distress, he let the 911 dispatcher know that he'd been out on a run and then came home to find his wife fully submerged underwater in the bathtub and no longer breathing. But was Philip Grandine actually in distress, or was that an award-winning performance? A hard call to make judging just from that recording, but if we go back in time and have a closer look at Philip, I think it'll be safe to say that the sincerity in his voice during that call was not what it seemed. I'm Jason, and you're watching Killer Bites, and this is the story of Philip and Anna Karissa Grandine. Philip, who grew up in Paris, Ontario, Canada, was known as someone who excelled in school. He really had all the makings of someone with the potential to be successful and go far in his life. Karissa was born in Pasay City in the Philippines on November 10, 1981. In 1994, when she was 13 years old, she moved with her family to Toronto. Now, 13 isn't the easiest age to move to a new country, but she was also someone that excelled in her studies. After high school, Karissa went on to study at the University of Toronto. She then graduated in 2006 with honors with a Bachelor's of Science degree. While she was still in college, she decided to take one theology class, and presumably this is where she met and started dating Philip while he was taking courses. Philip was in school now for a degree in theology, and in 2007, Philip had officially graduated from seminary school with a Bachelor of Theological Studies. Now, 1 year later, he began to work as a pastor at the Ennerdale Road Baptist Church. Things were moving along for both Philip and Karissa in what felt like a very positive path. In October of 2008, Philip and Karissa got married. They then had what appeared to be a couple of years of wedded bliss. But in 2010, everything started to change. Stephen Hadfield, a pastor from their church, had been contacted by Philip and Karissa. The couple wanted to talk about meeting with him for marriage counseling. Stephen had known them since 2008 when Philip had first begun working as an assistant pastor at the Park Lawn Baptist Church. 2 years into their marriage, and they wanted to talk to someone within their community that they trusted. Stephen agreed to sit down with them, and in that first conversation, the truth came out about their marital troubles. Philip admitted to having an emotional and physical relationship with a woman from his church. Her name was Eileen Florentino. She was not only one of the members of their church, but she was also a friend of Karissa's. Oof, now that is some drama. Eileen Florentino was also around the same age as Karissa and was also from the Filipino community. So Philip had been sneaking around behind Karissa's back and right up under her nose. Philip also had one more confession. He came clean about watching on the computer. It's undetermined if he had an addiction to it, but viewing was frowned upon in the eyes of the church. It was seen as a form of betrayal of the marriage or viewed as a sin. After all they had prayed together through tears, Philip Grandine agreed to resign from Ennerdale as a pastor, and Stephen thought it was best. Stephen later said about the situation, Philip understood that it was the right thing to do. As a minister of the gospel, he'd violated the gospel trust by having an affair with a woman in the parish, and he'd violated his own marriage. Stephen agreed to continue with marriage counseling under the guidelines that Philip break off his affair with Eileen and that he stop looking at. Stephen believed it's often a contributing factor in some marriage breakdowns and leading up to infidelity. Another stipulation for Stephen to continue counseling was that he wanted a program to be installed on Philip's computer to stop him from going to sites, almost like parental controls parents use for their children. Philip agreed to all of this, and the next day, he let the congregation know he'd be stepping down. He also broke off his relationship with Eileen. After that meeting, Karissa emailed Stephen to let him know that she'd installed a password-protected filtering system on their computer. All the steps had been taken. Karissa was willing to forgive Philip, and Philip seemed to genuinely want to change. Why would he agree to all of this if he didn't want it? Well, after stepping down at the church, Philip had to find new income, and he went to work as a nurse manager at a nursing home for senior citizens. He was responsible for distributing medicine to the residents and also in charge of destroying any excess pills. At one of Philip and Karissa's last counseling sessions, Stephen noticed Philip was not in a normal frame of mind. He was slurring his words, couldn't walk straight, and seemed off balance. And during the session, Philip couldn't keep his eyes open. He just kept nodding off. Philip maybe wasn't in a place where he wanted to be better. So was he really working on himself? Was he being a better husband to Karissa? Or was he ingesting those excess pills from the nursing home? Stephen knew that Philip didn't drink, but he had a feeling that Philip might be under the influence of something else. If he had so much access to prescription pills, was he taking any of them? The truth was that Philip had made everyone in his life believe that he really wanted to change and be with his wife. But in actuality, he had continued to secretly see Eileen Eileen on the side. Karissa had suspicions about this affair still going on, and she told her family about it. At one point, Karissa was now 20 weeks pregnant and growing very concerned for herself and the baby on the way. Karissa brought up her suspicions about Philip still having an affair in one of their ongoing counseling sessions. Philip denied that anything was going on. He said he was remaining faithful. On October 13th, 2011, Karissa started complaining of nausea, being dizzy, disoriented, and having impaired muscle control that lasted about 12 hours. Karissa felt so off balance and dizzy, she fell out of the bed. Her symptoms grew worse over time, and the next day, she was repeatedly vomiting, so Philip rushed her to St. Michael's Hospital for treatment. They performed a number of tests to rule out any metabolic issues or any issues with her unborn child. None of the tests came back abnormal. It appeared that she was still very healthy despite how she was feeling. When Karissa started to recover from her mysterious and undetermined illness, she was even more confused. She didn't have any memory of what had happened, why she was there, and she was totally freaked out. In the hospital, Karissa asked her husband Philip if he had given her anything, any sort of pill. Visibly agitated, he said no, he hadn't. She was eventually released from the hospital and went home to continue to recover and put the pieces back together. On October 17th, 2011, Philip went out for a run, and when he arrived home, he found his wife in the bathtub, fully submerged in water. And you heard the 911 call. She was no longer breathing. At the beginning of her funeral, the pastor speaking acknowledged that Philip was grieving the loss of his pregnant wife. But police had begun investigating the situation, and people at the church were already starting to have opinions about the cause of Karissa's death. Before Philip was arrested, Karissa's mother and sister gave statements to the police that Karissa had been fearful of Philip. Her sister Hannah told them that Karissa began feeling nauseous and dizzy and not like herself. She had called Hannah to say that she was scared because she didn't know what could possibly be making her feel that way. Maria, Karissa's mother, told police that she was present when her daughter asked Philip if he had given her a pill. He said no. However, Karissa's toxicology report came back showing the presence of a sedative. As a nurse, Philip had access to prescription pills, and although there was no direct evidence of Philip giving Karissa a pill to take, lorazepam, also known as Ativan, was found in her system, had all the side effects she had been complaining of, and that was a pill that Philip could easily get. 6 months after Karissa's death, Philip was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was placed on house arrest at his parents' home while he waited for the trial. When the trial began, Karissa's mother and sister testified with the same story they had told police. Stephen, the pastor that had provided counseling, also testified. The defense lawyers argued that Karissa had knowingly taken the medication herself because she was depressed about her husband's affair. And on October 17th, she had either slipped or drowned in the tub or taken her own life. But those accusations were flawed. Karissa had never mentioned an issue with depression before, and there was no evidence that she had access to the Ativan without her husband. Furthermore, if she was aware of the pills she was taking, why had she been so confused about the side effects that were causing her to feel so unwell? As the trial continued, more evidence to support Philip's involvement with Karissa's death came to light. On the 17th, between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m., 275 text messages had been sent between Philip and Eileen Florentino. He had lied about going jogging and was in fact at home talking to Eileen on the phone when Karissa was in the bathtub. Also found during the time that he said he was out of the house was that he was actually at his computer. He figured out a way to get a temporary password so that he could uninstall the pornography blocking software. What Philip wasn't aware of was that the computer and his filter system kept a record of his searches, even after deactivating it. The computer search history showed that on October 10th, 2 questions had been asked. Would 100 milligrams of be fatal? And a minute later he searched, would you die from 100 milligrams of Can you say busted? We're now at a point in the trial where it has been made very clear Philip was not only home, but he was on his computer looking at mere minutes before he called 911. It was also pointed out that given his profession as a nurse, Philip was trained in how to act in a medical emergency, with Philip Grandine being sentenced to 15 years in prison for manslaughter. He was taken into custody, but soon after, Ontario's highest court found that the judge that had presided over the case had made an error when answering a question from the jury. So Philip made bail and was released pending the appeal. What had happened was, during the initial deliberations, the jury had asked asked the judge if Philip's knowledge that his sedated wife was taking a bath was equivalent to the act of deliberately placing her in the tub. The judge answered by suggesting a possibility that had not yet been discussed during the trial. The appeal decision read, quote, "The trial judge, Robert Clark, introduced an alternative theory of liability into the case under which the jury could find Grandine liable even if he did not administer the lorazepam but was aware his wife had consumed the drug. Up until that point, the trial judge said that if Philip did not administer the drug, he should not be found guilty. The trial judge's ultimate answer offered the jury a new path to conviction, the finding continues, so the appeal court ordered a new trial. The new trial didn't take place until 2019. That's a whole 8 years after Karissa had passed away. At the trial, Philip's doctor went on the stand to testify, where he revealed that Philip had expressed concerns and doubts about his marriage before some of his routine doctor's appointments. Dr. Irving Gora also said, quote, "He said he wasn't sure if his wife would have been his first choice if he had to do it again." The new judge concluded that Philip was hostile toward his wife and administered the drug intending to incapacitate her, and then his actions were planned, premeditated, diabolical, and violent. Philip was once more convicted of manslaughter by the new jury. Why did it need to take so long? Philip immediately applied for bail and was released pending the appeal. His lawyers argued that there was no evidence that he knew his wife had consumed lorazepam or that she was at risk if she took a bath. They also argued the sentence was harsh and excessive. In January 2020, Philip Grandine was finally sentenced to 15 years in prison. Again, Philip's lawyers argued that the ruling was harsh and excessive, but the court's final decision was that there was no error, nor was it excessive. The evidence that had been built against him was clear. In 2023, Philip is still serving his 15-year sentence behind bars at a federal penitentiary in Kingston. And that is the story of Philip Grandine. I mean, what a terrible person. It's so upsetting that many people will hide behind their faith to appear good. And while I don't condone cheating, I do believe that people are allowed a different life if the one they've created for themselves isn't working for them. But you don't have to end someone's life to do it. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm Jason, and thanks for watching Killer Bites.